Welcome to the Business of You, the show that empowers you to put yourself out there and build your personal brand. I'm your host, Michelle Griffin, helping you each week with expert tips, inspiring stories, and personalized coaching so you can master your reputation and build your future, showing up as the brand and business of you. I'm excited you're here. Now let's get going with today's show. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of The Business of You. We are going to get really, really nitty gritty today about something that's actually been nagging me for a while, because I'm going to talk about this in the episode. But a lot of us leave corporate. A lot of us want to leave corporate or just the stuff we're doing now and realize, where do I go? What do I need to do? Where do I want to use my skills, my talents, and expertise? Well, today I am bringing on a client and a friend who has struggled and done and now succeeding doing just that. So we're going to unpack her story that'll give you lessons and ideas for your own journey. No pun intended, because I'm excited to introduce Lisa Richer, the CEO and founder of Journey to Bloom. Welcome to the show, Lisa.
Thank you so much for having me, Michelle. I am just thrilled to be here, in part because you are so part of the journey to get here, and just everything you just shared. I've ups and downs, right? It's all part of it.
Absolutely. Well, before we get into what you're doing now, and there's just, your transition and your journey, because we're going to use that word and theme a lot. Tell us what you were doing before and what are you doing now?
Sure. So I did a lot of things before, but most recently, before this transition into fully diving headfirst into being a neurodiversity consultant, I was in HR leadership. I had done training and development. I had been a VP HR business partner for 60 some VPs, SVPs, and EVPs, where I was doing, the business side, the training, the development, the coaching, transformation, everything and anything. And then I actually pivoted into just doing the coaching piece of it, which was phenomenal. And I got to work with someone I had worked with for years, and we were helping people land six-figure jobs. And sometimes they were 500,000 from 100,000. Sometimes it was their first one. And in that part of what I was doing, I came to realize that the mindset your mindset drives your energy drives your clarity drives your focus and your progress and your success. And so those 3 years I was doing that was just really transformational for me, because it helped me get back to who I am and my true self. It got me to reconnect with what I'd lost years ago. And now I am living my life's purpose and just doing exactly what I know I was meant to do as a neurodiversity consultant, simplifying the neurodiverse learning journey for parents and educators, and honestly, even professionals of neurodiverse learners. So that's where I am.
Well, it also fits not only your life, it's your life's journey too, because I know you have two sons who are neurodiverse, and yes, that was your journey. You're, as we say, sometimes your own avatar. And I really want to dive into what we were talking about before we went live. And that's the struggle that a lot of people I talk to, who are my clients and just people I see on LinkedIn, they either are in a job or want to leave it or have just left it. The Great Resignation has impacted so many, but they're kind of lost. They're kind of stuck. It's like, what do I do? Where do I go? You suffer from too many ideas, too many people telling you or giving you what you think is good ideas, and that just makes your head want to explode. And can I tell you that my second year of my entrepreneurial journey myself, I know the lane I want to stay in. I know the umbrella I want to be under, but I don't know what lane sometimes. Like, I've had so many different people come and tell me, and I've had to struggle with that myself. So I want to ask you how that impacted you. Tell us a little bit about that, because that's huge for most people. And maybe you can give us some insights on how you got out of that.
Gosh, yes. It was a long journey, honestly. And I just bring me back if I go down one of those squirrels, like my ADHD brain is like all over non sequiturs, right? So let me try to just keep this focused here. So I initially, I want to give this back a piece of it, because I want people to understand, just like you said, you know where you're going. And I was like, time out. Let's like go back to where I was. And, I want to share this first. One of the biggest things that I've learned through this transformation is everyone that I thought had it all together went through everything that I'm going through before they had it all together. And even now, it's still not all together. It's an ever evolving journey, right? It's not about the destination. It's about the point in time. And so I had initially created an organization called Bloom Special Education Advocacy. And and then I ended up going and helping someone in HR leadership again. This is the other part of the journey. And I want to share this because it's easy to go back to what we know. It's hard to take that leap into what we are, who we're meant to be, and how we're meant to be doing it. So I kept going back, but I kept getting like beat up. And finally I woke up. Well, I kind of burnt out first, and then I woke up to, I got to just follow me and my heart. So when I transitioned into the career coaching or the executive transformation leadership, which is more what I call it, transformation work. It wasn't just about the journey for the clients. It was about a journey for me. And when I leaned in and was so excited about it, I ended up pushing aside Bloom Special Education Advocacy. And I kept on going these what I thought were easy things. So, but what happened was the things I learned in this phase of working with that organization, it's not an organization anymore, but it's someone I'd worked with for years. So he knew me and we were able to work really well together. I made some phenomenal connections and friendships that have helped me get clarity where I am now. And I learned how to find myself again after 20 some years of not finding myself. And so, it's that journey, and it's really big ups and downs throughout it. When I made a conscious choice, a year and a half ago now, to step away from the transformation coaching role and really dive into figuring out, how do I want to show up? Do I want to be an advocate? Do I want to be what do I want to be known for? How do I want people to know that I have solutions to problems they have, because I've been living it for 15 years. And so I started doing all this research, and I started having lots of phone calls with people from corporate, with people from all over the place, and talk about analysis paralysis and information overload. I was like, I don't know what to do with all of this. Some people knew me as a salesperson. Some people knew me as an HR leader. Some knew me as a coach. Some knew me as a gymnast. Like the breadth and depth of people that knew me, and then their expertise also ended up throwing me into a tailspin, because I had one that wanted me to do my website first. And I'm like, but I don't even know where I'm going. How do I do that? So then I started getting like really anxious about, how do I do that? How do I do that? And, then I had others that said, just do corporate or just do parents. So it just came from every angle, Michelle. And so like we were talking about before we started the conversation live, it's got to be your journey. And it was when I started trusting my inner voice instead of the voice of the noise around me, that I was able to start to lean in to who I really needed to show up as for me, not for others. And that's when everything started to come into focus.
It got easier, didn't it, Lisa? It like suddenly went from being so hard and you felt like you had roadblocks, or your head wants to explode, being on a hamster wheel, to, wow, it's not easy. I mean, it's easier, but you don't get the roadblocks. You feel a little bit aligned, right? Like you almost see, like for me, like you knew all along, but we don't trust ourselves, like you said, right? We rely on others thinking they have the answers. They don't have the answers, right? Not truly on who you're meant to be and what you want to do. Wouldn't you agree?
100%, because I was screaming from the rooftops about how I felt like in corporate, no one understood me. And I didn't understand why what I was saying made so much sense in my mind, but it made no sense in others' minds, to the point where I had a leader say to me, "You're so smart. Why don't you get it?" Talk about a gut-wrenching spiral. I was already having a lot of anxiety, but this is the same person who, when I said I need to take a step back and really focus in on my kids, because my older son, who's on the spectrum, you said I have two boys that are neurodivergent. My older son's on the spectrum, sensory processing disorder, OT, speech, social skills delay, lots of things, but highly intelligent. So trying to figure out what was going on with him and how to help him, it took a long time. Well, then my now 11-year-old came along, seemed to be developing normally. Then about 3 years old, we realized he had an articulation thing going on. The speech person recognized that he had something going on with fine motor skills. And then something else happened, and then something else happened. And we ended up realizing fine and gross motor skill, visual processing delay, complex ADHD, anxiety, seizures, like the list went on. But they were so different that I couldn't use one for the other. And so I felt like I needed to step back. And this leader that said to me, "You're so smart, why don't you get it?" When I said to them, "This is what I need to do," she said, "Why would you do that?"
Wow.
And now, 10 and a half years later, what I realize is the fear of the unknown. She didn't understand what I was trying to say, just as I didn't understand what she was trying to say, but neither one was necessarily open to receiving and engaging in that conversation at that point in time.
And also, it probably wasn't quite your time. You had to unfortunately live through this and, not had to, but you did. And it makes your story and your service and all that you do even more important and more like, look at the journey I've been on so I can help you. And that's, I think, is super important. Our stories really and this is what I find with clients I work with, either someone who's leaving corporate like you or has left and just really has a personal story or a passion that can go out to help others. I see that. Or I see others who just want to take their expertise and don't know how to use that, translate that on their own. But today we're really going to be talking about someone who's, I guess you could say, you kind of just transitioned to something different, because in your heart, you probably knew all along, like 10 years ago, did you know you wanted to do this? Or you knew you were blogging, right? You were blogging, which was the first step, right? So tell us about that.
So I've been blogging since my 15-year-old was 18 months. So I was blogging before blogging was cool. And it was really for me, because I love to write. It was just a way for me to, and I journaled growing up for years and years until my brother found my journals. And then I didn't journal for many years because I didn't want him, seeing it, you have those starts and stops. But I've been journaling for blogging, whatever you want to call it, for many, many years, the journey. And I did it in spurts off and on. And it took me a long time to not judge myself for having those breaks in time there. Because every phase of it was there when it needed to be there, right? And so I knew that this was something I was passionate about. I knew that I was always really meant to help others. Helping others help themselves is something that I'm always been passionate about. The better people do, the better I feel. I've only ever been in competition with myself. People never really understood that about me growing up. Like, why aren't you, whatever it was. I'm like, I'm competitive. I'm just not mean about it, or I'm just not, whatever you want to call it, and whatever the term is that you use. But I did, Michelle, I knew that this was something that I didn't know what it was, but I knew being of service to others was really what was that in my heart and where I needed to go. And the 4+ years ago, when I initially started or created that LLC, Bloom Special Education Advocacy, to come back to that, it wasn't the time yet for me to go live. And that's really important for anybody listening. And even for you, Michelle, from what we were talking about, is like, where's your path? I thought my path was showing up at IEP meetings and talking to people and just really educating and engaging. And then I started to dive into what special education sounded like to people. And it was like hair standing up on people's, necks. Advocate. It was like, okay, I'm advocating for you, but I'm not working with you because you're doing it on behalf of somebody instead of with them. And so, you fast forward and we rebranded, and you were such a huge part of that as Journey to Bloom. I'm not calling myself an advocate. I'm calling myself an ally. I'm not special education. It's neurodiversity consultant because it's so much bigger. And to me, it's about grabbing around and moving forward together. So even like thought leader, you've mentioned that word to me too. And I'm like, I really don't think I want to be known as a thought leader. I want to be known as a thought partner, because a leader just speaks and a partner participates. But all this clarity came from these starts and stops and the testing the waters. And it's been a 4+ year journey. And now I finally I know so well where I want to go that a corporate leader asked me to talk to several groups within the organization. And when I showed them my website a couple of days before launch, they said, I'm looking at this is great. Are you sure we should include like the talent acquisition and the talent development team? And I said, absolutely, because even though it's not on my site as what I'm doing with my background, if I can help you help the leaders that didn't get the help that I'm giving the students, the learners, and the parents and the educators, you're also educating. So absolutely, I'll lean in. Now, it's not my, the crux of my role, but at the core, it's all threaded together. Mm-hmm. So I'm so clear now on where I'm going that I know when I can pick and choose to go to corporate and not to, because corporate is not my thing. But I've lived in it for so long that there are certain people that I will be willing to bring into the fold.
Wow. Just telling me you're just discussing your journey from the 4 years to clarity, like you are super hyper focused now and know where you want to go and what aligns and all that. For those just in your shoes, maybe a little bit behind you, either working or wanting to get out or just doing their heart's passion or even taking, the expertise, because you did have expertise, you lived that story and you still do with your sons. How can they avoid the 4-year gap? Like people think, time, I don't have 4 years, I know that's your story, but how can I do this sooner? So learning from what you did, what's the first step someone should take or do to get on their right path in their journey?
Yeah. Gosh, I don't even know. That's a great question.
Or what not to do. Would that be easier?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a really good question. It's very thought provoking and trying to think back. For me, I was doing a little bit of when it was Bloom Special Education Advocacy. I did have some clients. I did have some paid clients, but I wasn't loving it. I was happy to help people, but showing up in the meeting, I felt like something's missing. So I say, trust your gut, trust your heart. If something's screaming at you, think about it, stop, reflect on it, acknowledge it, and then give yourself permission to move through it, not push it away. Because if you push it away, it's just going to come back, which is what kept happening to me too. Yep. I'd push something away and be like, it's nothing. And then it just kept slapping me in the face until I finally was like, all right, I better really kind of lean into this and see what this is all about.
It keeps bubbling up, right? Is that what you're saying? It keeps bubbling up. Yeah, exactly.
Pay attention to what keeps bubbling up and allow yourself to test the waters. Because if I hadn't started there, then I wouldn't have known. And I ended up taking a role within the school system as a parent support coordinator, because I thought doing that was going to help me learn more about what it was that I could do to help others. And what it did, Michelle, was it showed me what I didn't want to do. And I ended up leaving there about a year ago because I said, I can't focus on these 3 different areas that because you have to make money somehow, right? So I was doing other work. I wasn't just doing this. I had to do other things, but I knew what I didn't want to do. So I started to let go one at a time to the things that were not serving me in a way that was going to help me serve the clients that I wanted to serve.
Oh, that's really good. Yeah. I mean, at one point it's good to test things out because like you said, what you do and don't like, but on the other hand, when you realize that it's not serving you, don't stay in it too long. test it enough to know if it works or not, but then cut to the chase. And I did that too with some other offerings and clients and things like that. Because in the beginning, when you're putting yourself out there and you don't exactly know, you kind of have an, I think different people will come to you and different people will tell things to you, and that might take you on the wrong path, but you got to sort of test it out and then go, no. So it's a balance. So the thing that I see the most is that people maybe are testing, but then they just stay stuck. Okay. The staying stuck, the too many ideas, the lack of clarity, the uncertainty, that's the pain point that I actually serve for my clients. Now, you and I met, and, this isn't a plug for me and to work with me or anything, but, even if you were working with someone else, what led you to say, I can't do this anymore on my own. I need to get someone to help me. Can you tell us about that?
So, I had hit burnout completely. There were some things that had happened that I don't need to go deep into, but that led me to really needing to lean in to those that I've always had lean into me over the years, right? So my husband, my best friend, I had to ask for help, which is something that's not easy for me to do. And, but I had no choice because I physically could not get up off that couch or drive my car, take my kids to school. So I was forced to do something that was uncomfortable for me, I guess you could say. And I was at a doctor's appointment with my husband because I couldn't drive at the time. And I had said, but I was bawling. And I said, I'm supposed to be the strong one. And his response was, well, who told you that? And I think I said, well, I guess I did, as I'm crying. And he said, but that's not true. Like, you should be able to lean on all of us. We're here for you too. And not that I didn't know that, but I just never took advantage of it because over the years, a lot of people that I thought I could lean on would just judge me and tell me what to do and how to do it. And that just wasn't, I didn't want to do that anymore. And so I just learned how to compartmentalize and close things off that didn't serve me, which didn't help me either. Honestly, it was, very counterintuitive. So I ended up hiring a talk therapist for me, which I had done for my kids over time, but I'd never done it for me. I borrowed theirs on occasion for different things, but never had someone just for me. And she really helped me understand just how much I'd compartmentalized things over the years and how being an elite level athlete, while it was great, it was actually halting me from moving through and letting go of a lot of things that had traumatized me as a younger person, and that were holding me back from doing exactly what I'm doing now. And so it was that coupled with one of the people I'd reached out to that had just launched their own business. And they said, and this is in the midst of when I was still burnt out, I'm like sitting on this couch, just trying to have conversations. I felt like I had to keep going. And they said, you sound exhausted. You've got to pick what you love to focus on and let others help you. There was that phrase again, let others help you. Do the rest, because otherwise you're never going to get this off the ground because you're going to be so frustrated and exhausted that nothing's going to happen. So it was those pieces of it that led me to reach out to you and reach out to the person who had done my initial logo and to do my website and my logo. And I'd worked with her several times before. So I ended up having people that were experts in their own field and what they did that I wasn't an expert in, things that drained me, but motivated and inspired you. And that's how, we got here. And my talk therapist had said something to me. Should I think of integrate as in to great? So if you see, sometimes I do a hashtag that's in the number 2 GRH, it was that. And so then I got this bracelet watch that I had engraved, Journey to Bloom plus courage to fail equals into great. And then that became my sole motto for that whole time that I've been working with you. And then 2022 hit and it was simplicity. So that plus simplicity. And here we are, launched the site and having the conversation.
Absolutely. No, I think you always knew along, like you said, what you wanted to do. But after, getting sidetracked and all those things, just one day. And I think I had to do it too. It's like when I decided I had to leave my job, I wanted for 5 years to leave and do my own thing. I had this burning desire to help people like you. I just took action. It's like nothing is going to change unless you make something change. And that's easier said than done. I get it, but you just reached out. And so we do, it's a great lesson you just shared. We have to reach out to others. A lot of times we can't do this on our own. I mean, we can eventually when we get that direction and that clarity. But when you came to me, you had decided. That's a big thing. It's like when you want to lose weight, you can get all the tools, the books, whatever, but when you decide, that is when change happens. And so getting the clarity, which we got on, and the direction and just focusing, the differentiating, getting you to be the known for, like you said, no one knew what you wanted to be known or what you should be known for, what to know you for, right? Back when you were doing all the things. So tell us about it. Fast forward it now. Today is a pivotal day because we didn't time this, but you launched your website today. Huge. And it's gorgeous. Shout out to Ashley, your designer. I know we worked on all the messaging and it is just so perfect. We've worked on your offers. We're doing everything. So tell us what it looks like for you today, Lisa, and how do you feel? And what's the next part of the year and next year look like for you?
Gosh. Exciting and nerve-wracking. I was thinking about this last night as I was drafting what I wanted my launch thing to be. And in my post today, I said, perfection is the enemy of progress. And it is, because I kept drafting. And I had talking about the messages, right? I had 3 different people within 4 days say, what are you waiting for? What's stopping you from launching? And there was that voice and there was that, okay, I better lean into this because it's time, if not now, then when? And so excited. I launched it. What's next? Gosh, I think a lot more conversations like I'm having with you. I feel so grateful and blessed that I've had conversations with a couple of people leading up to today, where they asked me to join and just kind of share my journey and where I'm headed and what does neurodiversity mean and how did I get into it and the things, right? So it's a story, just keep on sharing it. And I just had an offer yesterday to do another one. And I'm just like, wow, this is great. And I know, Michelle, you and I talked about me doing a podcast. And I think I said, let me focus on the people first. And then I could potentially do a podcast. But the universe, I don't think necessarily wants me to do one yet because the amount of people that are coming to me saying, hey, can you come on my platform? I'm like, yes. And that feels right to me. So where am I now? I'm feeling very settled. I'm feeling very excited. And just trusting the journey, trusting the process, and knowing that anytime there's a failure, it's just a point in time. So I was thinking about this. I wrote down the other day and I'm like, PIT fall. Oh, point in time fall. So instead of it being a pitfall and you just stuck in there, it's a point in time fall. And so it's just only sometimes that it happens, right? And so at those points in time, I'm helping my clients and I'm teaching them and I'm nurturing them. So I'm going to keep on talking about neurodiversity. I'm going to keep posting about it and getting people to really understand it. I want to be able to educate so that they can implement it and they can start to do this on their own. So, as my site says, simplifying the neurodiverse learning journey. And I know, like I said, I know I don't have professionals listed on there, but to me, educators are professionals. And so while it's not calling it out there because it's not what's at the core of what I do, it's inclusive of everybody. As long as it goes in the focus of my clarity, which you so beautifully helped me come to. And I will give you a shout here because, Michelle, the journey that I was on and our connection from the beginning helped me really just take that huge and, filter things in and really just get, and that's what you told me at the beginning. You're like, I'm going to walk next to you. We're going to do this together. And that's what this is all about. It's about walking side by side. And for me, it's the unknown unknowns. And a client said that to me yesterday. Your special sauce is the unknown unknowns. And what he meant by that was I have an innate ability to listen to what's not said to read body language, and it's that empath in me, and to really pull out what I heard someone say and ask a simple thought-provoking question that brings things up that they didn't even know was there. And what that does is it leads to clarity, which leads to the confidence and the courage, and so all of that is what I'm focused on in the neurodiversity space, and neurodiversity and inclusion, and shouting about that I in inclusion. And that's really just kind of come to light in the last week or so, that to me, they go hand in hand. I don't have a lot about that on my site, but I'll just keep on writing and posting about it so people know. I think I just changed my profile to say inclusion enthusiast. And that was intentional also, because I don't want to be an inclusion advocate. I want to be an inclusion enthusiast, which goes to the ally and the thought partner. It's all about doing this with people. I'm here to collaborate with anyone and everyone that has a need, either for themselves or with their learner, or it's an educator that needs help, or a professional that needs help, to simplify that journey, to educate so they can implement and sustain. Because inclusion of the neurodivergent person and the neurodiverse world cannot happen until the action's taken. And so yesterday, somebody told me that now it's DEIB with the word belonging. And I said, well, isn't that a shame? And here's why. If we were truly taking action on the I in DEI, we wouldn't need the B, because it would be happening.
That's a good point.
And yeah. And so to me, it's a shame, but if that's what it takes to call it out and to really allow it to come forward. And so to bring it all together, Michelle, I'm doing what I've been trying to get off the ground for really 10 years now, because people are ready to listen. And I'm not going to pass up this opportunity to grab people by their hands, put my arms around them, be there to listen, help bring clarity, help them uncover what isn't happening, how to say what they need to say, and just give them the tools to continue to do it on their own as they go through their life journey.
Wow. So well said. And the best thing that came out of it, you have such clarity and confidence yourself. I know that you do that to others, but you have it now. And the fact that you're telling me you're having people come to you, I mean, the fact you're now known for this, you're now in one lane. So it makes life easier. It makes your business easier. It makes it easier for clients to find you, the right clients. So I can't tell you enough how this story has made such an impact on me, hearing this translated back. And I know people listening who are and I know there's probably a lot of them who are in this same predicament. And, it's hard when you're stuck. But the world seems to be a whole new world, right? When you have that clarity and you are aligned to what you're supposed to be doing, right? So this has been fantastic. So as we close out today, before we tell everyone where they get to see you and see your beautiful site and follow you and learn more about you, what's your number one takeaway, would you say, for someone who is stuck professionally and wants to get out and use their gifts or their expertise in service to others like you're doing?
I'm going to go with the people that can't do it full time because they need to make money, because that becomes a roadblock if you're not going to think about that. Finances are something. You have to be able to pay your bills, eat your food, drive your car, take care of your kids, your family, or maybe it's just you, but still you have to have the essentials. So my biggest guidance on that is go as fast or as slow as you feel like you can to get to where you want and deserve to be. And don't ever think that because you have a really busy job that you can't take 1 hour a day to focus on getting that clarity, having those conversations, showing up, being curious with others in what you want to do and learn about them, because that is the most crucial piece of this. So you stay in your role, talk to people in the field, get them to validate or point you in another direction of whether or not you've either found a gap, or if you're someone that inspires people to do what you want to do. and you get one yes and go with it. Do not wait for 2, 3, 4, 5 yeses. If one person believes in you, that's all you need.
That's great. Yeah. And then you can just go from there. Action breeds clarity is another one of my sayings. I love that. Yeah. Well, tell us where we can find you and see your awesome new site, Lisa.
Great. Thank you. I'm so excited. You can find my website. It's journey2bloom.com. So journey, the number 2, bloom.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, and you can find me on Facebook. I have a Journey to Bloom page on Facebook and a parent page on Facebook as well, for neurodiverse learners, parents, educators, whoever that wants to join it. Anybody in any realm, young, old, you can find me there as well.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that is awesome. I know everyone will be checking out your site because it is, Ashley, your designer, did amazing work. So I'm really excited that's a whole nother thing. I know people say you do or don't need a website, but when you get it right, when you get it and you have all the words that match the beautiful designs, that's another piece of clarity and confidence, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
it is. And that's something that also was a start stop. I've had several different websites up, but the problem was, Michelle, I was never clear on what I truly believed I should be doing and what I wanted to do. So none of my websites ever showed what it was. And as you said, when we first met, I had it all there. I gave you all these deck slides. And when we looked at all the stuff we went through, we came back to a lot of the same language, but it was just, I couldn't package it up. And I'm so grateful to you because you helped me unconditionally, non-judgmentally work through all the pieces and bring that to life for me. So I have to thank you so much too for the part you played in that.
It was my pleasure. You just make my job, I've told you this, so much, fun. I love waking up and doing what I do, helping amazing messengers and people like you who are out there. So yeah, most of the time, everyone has it in us. It just needs someone to help you get unstuck. And it was the pleasure's mine. So one last question, because I ask all my guests this, and the answers have just been so amazing. What's a professional or personal mantra or saying that you would like to share that can inspire us to get out there or do something? So what is it for you, Lisa?
I feel like simplicity has become that thing. That's like the one thing that pops in my mind. I look up and that's like the one word I see on my thing here. So I'm going to say simplicity. And what I mean by that is don't make something that could be so simple complex. My mantras in my mind every day is simplicity, 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 because the simpler, the less complicated. So one step at a time toward where you're headed. And I know that's more than just a phrase. So I could also say it's all about the journey, not the destination.
Oh, I love that. It goes so well with your mission and what you do and your tagline and everything. So great. Well, Lisa, I can't thank you enough to hear your story firsthand, to hear, the thoughts and the inner thoughts that were holding you back and literally sidelining you, on that couch, and to see you overcome that and to get, the direction where you're meant to be to help those clients you're helping and becoming that go-to person in your industry. That is so inspiring. And not just for me, because I helped you get there alongside you, but for the people listening, because I can guarantee you there are hundreds, maybe even thousands of people worldwide who have gotten to that point and have felt the same way. So thank you for the inspiration and the stories today. It means so much.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. This was exciting. I always love talking to you. So any excuse to speak with you is always a great day. So thank you so much, Michelle.
My pleasure. Well, guys, this has been such a wonderful episode. To hear stories firsthand is just what this is all about. So until next week, I want to keep encouraging you to take that step, to keep striving to put yourself out there, because you have a brand to build, a business to build, and people to impact. So I will catch you next week. Thank you, everybody. Take care. Thanks so much for tuning in. We need more impactful professionals, entrepreneurs, and leaders just like you getting out there, sharing your expertise. So if you'd like to know more about how I can help you or your team grow your professional personal brand, please check out yourbrandyourbusiness.com. And until next time, you have a brand to build, a message to share, and people to impact. Now go put yourself out there and watch the business of you grow.